Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Livia and today I'm excited to share with you some insights into the two blue paints that I use most of the time in my painting. They are Ultramarine blue and Phthalo blue. And by having these two blue pigments, I don't need any other blue. Understanding these colors and how and when to use them can simplify your color mixing and bring a new level of vibrancy to your work. And if you'd like to know how to simplify your palette and unleash the potential of these two pigments, check this out. So let's start with Ultramarine blue. This deep, rich pigment is a must-have color in my work. It has a natural warmth and it tends to lean towards the red side of the color spectrum. I find it wonderful for creating atmospheric effects, shadows and beautiful gradients in the sky. It's great for landscape painting. So I'm going to mix a bit of this Ultramarine blue with white just to show you the color a little bit better. So that shows how purplish that color is. It has a tendency to the red side. There's no doubt about it. So it's got a red color bias. Beautiful blue. Then there is Phthalo blue, which is like on the other extreme. It's a cool color, very intense. If I mix that with white, see how powerful that is. And it's so different from Ultramarine blue. It's got a green color bias, a green tendency. It's a cool toned blue and is a powerhouse when it comes to saturation. It is excellent for creating vibrant skies, deep ocean colors, and it's good for mixing greens when you want a very vibrant green. It's great for mixing turquoise colors as well. When I'm mixing sky colors, I actually use both of them together. I don't use just one blue to make the sky look more real. So if I only used Ultramarine blue, that wouldn't be a very good sky color, wouldn't it? And the same applies to this here. That would not look very real. So I usually combine the two of them because one neutralizes the other. So in terms of the color temperature, it's not too warm or too blue. It's just something in between. It's more natural and at the same time more neutral than those two on their own. And then if I notice that the sky gets a little bit greener towards the horizon, then I go more with this one. But I still have a little bit of the Ultramarine blue in there. So it creates a very lovely color actually for the sky. So that's what I do. I love mixing the two of them to paint skies. See, I try to go with the tendency of each color. If I want to mix a vibrant purple, I should go with this blue instead of this one. Shall we have a look at it? So I'm even using here magenta just to be closer to the purple that I'm aiming for. Instead of using crimson red or cadmium red, which would make the purple look very dull, kind of brownish. So mix a bit of white here to show you the color, because otherwise it would just look like black. So that's a good way to mix purples, violets. Let's see what happens if I mix this blue with this here. Well, the blue just swallows that color, doesn't it? It just takes over. Can't even see that magenta here, so I'll just add more. It's not a bad color either. So adding a bit of white. So it's probably easier with this one here. It's easier to control and probably more vibrant on the other one, but this is not bad either. Okay, so I usually go with the ultra blue because it's a color that's leaning towards the purple. If I'm mixing greens, most of the time I would mix green out of ultramarine blue because I paint nature. And these days I use a lot of the chromium oxide green, which gives me a very true green color, nature color, and then I modify from that. But I still use the ultramarine blue as well. Hardly use the phthalo blue, to be honest, for mixing greens, probably because I have the chromium oxide. But I find this here more neutral, more nature-like. But if I notice, that I need a very intense green, of course, I'd go with this one here. So it really depends on what you're painting. There is no formula. The formula is understanding how each color behaves. And then you've got the freedom to choose, the one that would suit your goal better. Your goal color. See the difference? This is very powerful. Sometimes we need this here. Sometimes we even need to combine this purple with that color. See, this one would neutralize this a little bit more. And then if I keep adding the purple, I make the color look more muted. It's not a bad color. And then with this one here, you will never get the green to go as bright as this by using ultramarine blue. So that's the main thing about understanding this here. If you get the ultramarine blue and you mix yellow and you're trying to aim for this, you will never get out of this combination. It has to be this. Of course, if I want that purple to be even more pinkish, I would just add a little bit more magenta. If I added crimson red or cadmium red, the color would never go like this. It would look a bit muddy. But that's not the purpose of this tutorial. I'm talking about the blues. Yeah, so what else? If I'm mixing colors like the lakes we have here in New Zealand, beautiful lakes like this one, Lake Tekapo or Lake Pukaki, I'd go with the phthalo blue and a dash of yellow, lemon yellow. And that would give me this beautiful turquoise blue. And that's probably the same with colors of the islands, the Cook Islands or Fiji, places like that. This would be the best option. You'd never get this color out of ultramarine blue and white and yellow. You'll never get there. Could mix it to show you here. Say if I go there and then add yellow, see what happens? It's not that color at all. It's grayish color, to be honest. It shows us how this here leans towards red. It's almost like it's got red in it because it creates a gray. So no primary colors, no two primary colors would go like this. The phthalo blue is closer to what we consider as primary, which is the cyan blue. Cyan blue that's used for the printing industry. These are the differences. This is great for mixing grays. I love using ultramarine blue when I want to mix a grayish color, colored gray, because it's easier to control. It's more gentle. You can mix grays out of base colors like this, yellow, blue, and red. So I put a bit of this here. It goes grayer. There is one of my videos there. I teach you how to mix chromatic grays, colored grays. That's a beautiful gray. Another way to mix a gray, and that's like a shortcut, is by using brown, type of brown. It could be sienna or umber. Let's try burnt umber with a little bit of ultramarine blue and white. So if you have trouble to mix good grays, good colored grays, you can, start off your mixture by, mixing ultramarine blue with a bit of burnt umber. So that gives you a nice gray color. See? If you want that to be darker, just add more blue, a bit more brown. Just check the strength of each pigment to see which one takes over. If it's the brown, it means that you need a bit more blue in the mixture. But you're on the right track. So that's a gray, a neutral gray that would tone with this here. And then again, if this is too vibrant, you can always add a bit of a color that's got red in it, or even a gray that you have mixed on your palette already, and it's part of that same painting. You can soften colors, can neutralize colors. And so on. So this would be my sky. I just add a bit more white here. See what happens if we go lighter. Many times you see a bit of yellow and blue towards the horizon. So it just warms up the color a bit more. It makes it look more interesting. So I usually go like that for my sky colors. But again, it depends on the picture. It depends on the time of the day. But that gives you a little bit of understanding on how those colors behave. And to be honest, if you are a beginner, you don't really need any more blues than that. Just those two blues will do the job. And even for me, I just use those two blues. I have other blues, but I hardly use them. They were given to me, so that's why I have them. But I don't really use them. I know that some landscape artists love cobalt blue, and I can understand why. But to me, it's a color it's similar to ultramarine blue, and I can always mix it and combine with a bit of this here, the phthalo. So the cobalt blue would be a convenient color to have if you can afford it, because it's a very expensive pigment. But I don't really think you need that to create good paintings. It's a personal choice. If I want to mix a color that's close to black, say if you have Prussian blue, of course you can use Prussian blue. Prussian blue is a very deep blue. It's like a shortcut. But if you don't, and you can always use this. Yeah, I often just mix, that blackish color out of those two blues. And instead of using magenta, I'd probably go with crimson red or cadmium red, deep colors like that. I like this crimson red here because they have a better covering power. It gives you a very deep blue, but if I want a more neutral color like a black, I'd add a bit of burnt umber as well. So that gives me a very, very beautiful black color. See how I used those colors to mix the sky here as a combination of ultramarine blue. It gets a little bit more ultramarine blue at the top, and as the sky moves away towards the horizon, it gets a bit warmer, a little bit more yellow in the atmosphere. So that's why I make the colors go this way, warm up here and then getting cooler, and also having some grays like clouds or more atmospheric effects. I mix the grays out of those colors you saw on the demonstration, ultramarine blue or white. It's just like the blue that I had on my palette mixed up already for the sky, and then I add more magenta or even crimson, depends on what I'm using on my palette, and a bit of yellow. So that creates this sort of purpley gray in this case. And also the clouds, I add a bit of yellow to the mixture, so it's a little bit warmer, more like an orangish white. It just adds a bit more beauty. It makes the colors look a bit more playful. On the sea, I used more of the phthalo, less of the ultramarine blue in the mixture. And now I graded the color down with those primary colors, the magenta and the lemon yellow that was in my palette, and so on. So I used some on the reflection as well, on the water on the beach. And then I used the same colors for the pier to mix those grays that have a bit of blue and that harmonizes with the painting. And then some of the figures clothing, you can see some with more ultramarine blue and others with a little bit more phthalo blue, but it's again the same two blues. See, on this other painting, I used the same blues to paint the sky, but the sky is a little bit grayer, a bit more moody. It depends on the picture, right? So I was very careful with the blues. I just used actually a little bit of the two blues plus white, mostly white, and a dash of magenta or crimson. Can't remember which one I had on my palette. And also yellow. So then I created this soft blue gray. And you can see that there is a little bit more of the reddish tinge here, the red color. And then on this side we can see a little bit more of the lemon yellow. I don't think I used a lot of phthalo here. Probably it was more ultramarine blue, a bit of lemon yellow and white. And then this is another painting that I can show you how those blues were used. So the sky here is nice and soft. I use both blues. Here we can see more of the ultramarine blue in the mixture, while it's slightly more greenish blue. It's coming mostly from the phthalo blue, but again, being very careful in the mixture, using mostly the white because it's a light shape, and then just a little bit of both blues and a dash of yellow, a little bit of magenta or red, and that's it. In the same colors for those trees, not tending much to the purple side, but the green side, and then using mostly ultramarine blue, yellow ochre, burnt sienna to mix the tree colors, the tree line colors. The phthalo blue intensity can be both a challenge and a blessing, depending on how you use it. So always be mindful of that. And when you're choosing your colors, also think about it. Think about the gold color, and if you really need the phthalo blue or the ultramarine blue. But when dealing with phthalo, just be very mindful. Don't need much. As artists, mastering your palette is like unlocking a treasure chest of possibilities. By understanding the unique characteristics of ultramarine blue and phthalo blue and how to mix them effectively, you can create stunning, harmonious paintings. Experiment with these colors and don't be afraid to simplify your palette for greater control and expression in your artwork. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And if you'd like to keep updated on new courses and other art-related content, you can also subscribe to my newsletter through the link in the description area below this video. Until next time, happy painting!